My name's Amanda DeFonte. I'm our Senior Manager of Virtual Events here at Bonterra, and I will be your moderator today. Just going to cover a couple of quick housekeeping notes before I turn it over to the stars of today's session. So Russ, you want to pop to the next slide? Just a couple of quick reminders that you are all muted and off video, so you'll really just be seeing the presenters and our slides today during this session. But we do want you to interact with us throughout the entirety of the session within the Q&A section. So please use that Q&A function within Zoom to ask us any questions you have throughout the entirety of the session. We're going to answer as many of them as we can at the end of the presentation, but we have a lot of great information for you today, lots to cover. So there is a chance, probably a high chance, we do not get to all of them. But do not fear if we don't get to your question today, or if it's super specific to your organization, we'll have somebody follow up with you directly afterwards. So please don't be shy to ask. And then my kind of final note for all of you is that we are recording this webinar. So if you need to jump early, if you want to share this with a team member who couldn't make it, if you just want to rewatch and relive all of this wonderful new information of what's to come here, we'll send that to you all. You'll get it in an email in about a week. So you'll get it next week, which will come to the email that you registered for this session for. So keep an eye out there. It will also live in a blog on our website later, so you're welcome to reference that as well, but we'll send it to you directly because we're super excited to share this with you. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Jess. I will let them introduce themselves. We've got a couple of experts on our hands, so appreciate y'all here today, and I will let you take it away.
Okay, Amanda, thank you so much. I echo her excitement. Jess and I are very excited today to walk you through the F&E roadmap for the first half of this year. I am Russ Jenkins. I'm the Senior Vice President of Product Management for Bonterra's Fundraising and Engagement platform. And today we will be going over EveryAction, NGP Van, Network for Good, Give Gab, and Salsa. Jess, if you want to give yourself an intro.
Thanks, Russ. And I am Jess Matthews, and I'm our VP of Product for Supporter Products here at Bonterra. Also very excited to talk about what we've been working on.
Very good. So today's agenda, check, we did one. So I will spend a few moments on vision and strategy, particularly as it kind of sets up how we're going to think about and talk about the roadmap, which I'll talk more about, kind of how those two kind of will come together. We'll also spend for our products just a kind of brief flashback, really kind of the Q4, maybe late Q3, just a couple highlights of things that we have recently released in case you missed it. But then, of course, the bulk of the time will be spent on the first half roadmap for 2024. So without further ado, we will go ahead and jump into it. So just very quickly about Bonterra. We are a collection of a dozen best-in-breed social good products that have come together. We support over 16,000 nonprofit organizations, over 18 billion in annual giving that we drive. And it is a personal pleasure to work here and work on these kinds of social good impacts that we can have and collectively do together. If you might have caught this last fall, we spent a fair amount of time talking about the Bonterra vision and really where we're going as an organization. And part of that vision was essentially our rally cry. So where we are focused over the next, say, 10 years or so, is to get giving from where it is today, kind of stuck at 2% of GDP, to getting that to 3% of GDP by 2033. If you can do that, we have effectively doubled the size of the giving pie, and I can't imagine a better way to spend the next 10 years trying to make that happen. We had a series of webinars on that last fall, and so there was one for fundraising engagement, one for strategic philanthropy, and one for impact management. And for each of those, our CEO, Scott Brighton, walk through kind of the pillars of our vision and the strategy that underpins it, and kind of why, the why and the how of where we landed there and how we're going to get there. And then for each of those, each of the product line leaders actually spent about 30 to 40 minutes then walking through the vision as it associates to our particular product lines. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that, it was last Q4, last October, November timeframe. I think it is worth a watch. And I set that up in part because as we talk about the roadmap and where we are going for fundraising engagement, you are going to see us frame this in our vision. So the work that we are doing is really in service of advancing the overall Bonterra mission towards 3% in 33. And so let me just give you just a quick tour here of the slide. This is a slide that we used last fall to talk about the vision. But as I said, this is I think it's important to spend just a couple of minutes here so that as when we start talking about the roadmap, you'll see us start to frame any individual particular roadmap item within the larger vision context. So first and foremost, and I'm just really working top to bottom, the supporter experience platform. Without giving away too much of what we talked about last fall, one of our thesis is that the explosion of data, of particular point solutions that are in the market, the rise of the number of nonprofits has actually made it harder, not easier, to engage with your supporters in a very meaningful and a very personal way. And it's actually led to and helped accelerate some of the decline in giving, the decline in volunteerism. And so as we think about where we're going with fundraising and engagement, that's your supporter experience platform is a bit of a tagline there. But really what it's talking about is building a platform that helps you better understand who your supporters are, what their motivations are. So not just the demographic and wealth information, which is important, but maybe psychographic information, for example, like why are they interested in your cause? How did they get involved? What are all the ways that they are communicating with you or want to be communicated with? And then arm you with the tools and the capabilities to have a very meaningful and direct interaction with your supporters and give your supporters the best experience. And so like you could think of an experience as like if you're receiving an email with a particular message, with a particular ask at a particular time through a particular channel, that all sort of comes together in that very point in time to create sort of like that one impression on, say, for example, me as a supporter that I then put in context of all of the other interactions that I've had with you. And that starts to build like a supporter viewpoint. And we want to make sure that we are arming you with all the tools and capabilities to give them that best impression, that best experience. The way that we think about this then is what we call value themes. And these are essentially the thematic ways that we want to do this. First and foremost is, and I'm reading these left to right, and hopefully they're kind of intuitively obvious, but recruiting more supporters. And that's helping you bring in more net new supporters into your nonprofit, into your ecosystem. And then the way that we think about actually doing that there is those investment themes that you see. So the two areas, and it's the investment themes that when we frame our particular roadmap items, we're going to be framing them in the investment themes. Hopefully that makes sense. So to help you recruit more supporters, those two areas of investment that you'll see from us over time will be to help you proactively recruit new supporters. There's lots of ways to do that, but some of the specific ways that we're thinking about is building ideal supporter profiles, like who are your best supporters, maybe your best volunteers, the ones that bring in the most like friends and family and colleagues along with them, or perhaps it's a donation amount, whatever the case is, like who are those? And then who out there in the United States, let's say as an example, best fits those, and then being able to do very specific and targeted messaging to that. Expanding reach in the Bonterra ecosystem. If you're using any one of our products, we want you to feel like you don't just have the product, you are joining the Bonterra ecosystem. Jess and I will be talking a little bit about some of the integrations between, say, NGP Van and Mobilize. That's a great example. There's data science. There's all sorts of ways where if you are joining and using one of our products, you are actually joining all of the Bonterra ecosystem. And there's just a wealth of information and a wealth of things that we can do there over time to help you find and bring in more supporters. Once you have those supporters, we're increasing the supporter engagement. There's some really shocking statistics out there of how many people sort of donate one time to a nonprofit and then never again. And we want to address that very directly. So that's the investments that you'll see us make there. And these are the ones that particularly we'll be talking about today. Reducing the barriers to engagement, so making it easier to donate, easier to volunteer, easier to get involved, removing the friction in that process. and then helping you drive more intelligent engagement actions. Like I have a goal, I'm logged into the application for a reason, helping you advance that goal by making smart decisions in a very efficient manner, and sort of understanding like what should be my next step given the goal that I'm trying to reach. And then empowering supporters, helping your supporters pick up and do good work on your behalf. That could be anything from hosting a peer-to-peer event, canvassing, door knocking, phone calls, but just helping supporters pick up the work and execute on your behalf, and making that as easy as possible for them to do so. Those metrics that you see there is how we are going to measure ourselves in our own report card internally. So how many supporters have we helped you add? LTM is last 12 months. So we want to be able to build the mechanism so that not only are we just saying this, so we can actually measure that, share it with you as well. And then you'll see the other two there. How many actions is a supporter taking for the last 12 months? And then how many of the supporters are actually how many activities that you're running are actually supporter led over the last 12 months? This is a vision that you'll see us talk about many, many times, but I did want to spend a few moments here just in case you missed it in the last fall. Good. So I'll breeze through this quickly. Again, this is not an exhaustive list of things that we released for EA NGP Van last quarter, but I just did want to call out a few. This is a bit of a setup slide for what we're talking about in the roadmap, but we spent kind of under the covers here a lot of time looking at how our site is set up today in terms of how the information is organized, how easy or maybe not so easy it is to accomplish a particular task. And we had a lot of user interviews. We had some sort of user kind of tests to sort of see different kind of mocks and designs. And so we spent a lot of time there in Q4 that will set us up for something I'll be talking about in just a few minutes for Q1. For advocacy customers out there today, you can now directly target regulations.gov from the application. This was a big ask that we would routinely get, and something that we delivered last quarter. And then asks types on emails, and so you can categorize your emails now, either future ones or ones in the past, on what they are doing. So are they asking for money? Are they asking for time? Is it something else? But you can create those categorizations of your emails. Then you can do reporting on those to see how any particular ask type is performing over time. And you can update campaign values for ones that, as I mentioned, that you've done in the past. And you'll see us build on this over time. So as we start to layer in like machine learning, for example, to help you build like subject lines or the body of an email, ask type over time will become more and more important to help create better content and copy for you. So if you're not using it today, that's fine, but I would encourage you to start using it, because as we start to build on this over time, the more information that you can give us, the smarter that we can be and help you build your copy. Let's see. Oop, there we go. So without further ado, we will go on to the roadmap. There we are. Sorry, I got out of sync for a second. So let's jump into it. So I just showed this slide a moment ago, but just to show it one more time, I would love it if we could advance all of our values at the same time, but that probably would not be a good strategic idea for a couple of reasons. So as you hear us talk today about our roadmap, you are going to see us talking about these two particular investment themes. So this is where we're really focusing our efforts for the first half of this year, is around reducing barriers to engagement and then driving intelligent engagement actions. So with that said, let's jump into it. So we'll do reducing barriers to engagement first. And we've got a lot of good things coming here in the near term. First is resetting multi-factor authentication. We are going to put that in the hands of admins now, so you no longer need to contact Bonterra to reset this. I think that's a kind of a big win all the way around. That's coming soon. Single sign-on has been in beta for a while, and it is coming out of beta. I will say beta customer number one was Bonterra, so we've been sort of eating our own dog food, so to speak. But that is going to come out and come into general availability this quarter. So very excited about that as well. And then another win is going to be how we're shifting. This isn't a product one so much, but we are shifting our VPB Connect billing model. We're going to shift it more to a kind of a pay-as-you-go model. So that means you won't really only pay for the minutes that you need in what you consume. So you can spike it up, spike it down as you need on any particular month or quarter, and it will make it much easier for you to streamline how you use that product. So that is all coming as well. We've also taken a look at our membership management process, and we're making a lot of quality of life improvements there. So first of all, we're going to make it easier to set up levels and benefits associated with that. Make it a little bit more intuitive in terms of the setup process and then how people would move up and down accordingly. There are some settings that we're going to make more universal, expose them, and make it easier as part of the setup process. And then the other pain point that we want to address here is the auditing associated. So after the fact, like, why did someone qualify for this level? Why didn't they qualify for that level? Exposing that information and making it much easier for someone looking at it to have a fuller picture to understand why someone is in a particular level that they're in. So it's just some general quality of life coming for membership management. Payments, we are still hard at work at payments and excited about what we're doing here. So first and foremost, we are continuing to work on our Bonterra payments process, and we are fully embedding the setup process and reconciliation workflows. You'll be able to get up and running faster. You'll have more power in your control, and that's actually in the app as well. The other thing that we're doing around here is adding, well, we have PayPal today, but we're making it much easier to set up, streamlining that. So instead of taking maybe longer than it ought to get up and running and accepting donations from PayPal, doing it much faster than it is today. And again, putting more of that into the app itself. And then last but not least, we are adding Venmo as a payment option, which we're very excited about. And I think particularly on mobile devices, it's incredibly easy to give with Venmo. So I think it's also going to be a win for donating on mobile devices. So coming soon with payments. Did I get out of? Oh, sorry about that. I got out of sync there. So I just talked about this slide. So let me go back and talk about the one that I just missed over. So we want to do a few other things for lowering the friction for our supporters. If you are an advocacy customer, you're going to see more coming in terms of local advocacy to make it easier to target local districts. That was there before. So that's just kind of a nice, easy win that's coming for advocacy customers. One of our top idea portal submissions that we routinely get is being able to view an email as a web page. And so that is coming actually, I think in the next few weeks here. So any email you'll have a link to it, and then you can share that link accordingly, be able to view emails web page, which is a big win. These are the last one there is vendor changes for Google and Yahoo. This one's a little bit boring because they have to kind of maintain with vendor changes, but it's a pretty big industry change. You may have actually heard of it. So we are making changes to make sure that we remain in compliance, and that can include making it easier to validate as a bulk emailer and one-click unsubscribes as well. All coming. So I got out of sync there. Apologies. This is the payments piece that I talked about just a moment earlier. So I will go ahead and keep going. The other area that we get a lot of feedback on that we're going to make good progress on the first half of this year is our events capabilities. We have really strong and robust events capabilities that drive an awful lot of donations through them. There are a few pieces of feedback that we get that we want to also make sure that we address for the first half of this year. The first one is enforcing capacity limits for shifted events. So if more people are signing up for than you have room for at one particular event, you can better easily redirect those people to a shift that actually needs volunteers and make that whole process of balancing much easier than it was before. Maybe the number one request that we get in the ideas portal is discount codes for events. So yeah, it's here. We are going to launch support for discount codes for ticketed events. So you can set those up and you can use those accordingly there. And then lastly, we're looking at the sign-in process to make it easier and just a little bit remove friction, just sort of make the process easier to track sign-ins so you can more easily track and validate and send thank you letters and everything else to those who actually do show up to your event. So a big event wins coming first half this year. Support and navigation. So I kind of talked a few minutes ago about what we're doing in Q4 to set this up. We are going and have kicked off what's going to be a long running project over a period of time. We're going to just sort of take it in piece by piece as we go. but we want to give EveryAction and NGP Van kind of a UI improvement and kind of, I won't say overhaul, but we're going to significantly improve the usability of it, and what we would call wayfinding. And wayfinding means if you are logged in and you are a fundraiser and say I'm a volunteer coordinator and we are looking to kind of do and complete different tasks within the application, helping you figure out where you need to go and what you need to accomplish faster and more efficiently. We are going to start that process in the first half of this year by focusing on the primary navigation and the homepage experience. So we want to make it more intuitive in terms of how we organize our menus, how we organize the data that's more intuitive for how someone is using the application. But the data that you see on the homepage is more custom, more tailored to who you are and like what your persona is as you log in. And then again, help you not only give you kind of great immediate information, but also then help you jump off into where you want to go. So Amanda, if you want to kick off poll number 2, we are looking for volunteers who would like to be involved in the testing of this. And so essentially that could mean a couple of different things. It could mean being interviewed by us. More likely, it may mean that you're going to look at some kind of mock-ups and some visuals. We may ask you, like, given this kind of version of a visual, here's a few tasks and see how well or how difficult it is to complete that, and then get your feedback on it. So if you do say yes to this, we will add you to our list of people who are interested in helping us tailor the experience of the product as we go forward. So I think it's a great opportunity to have a voice in how this product visually looks and is usable going forward. All right. So targeting, we're also going to make a fair amount of improvements here as well. So we want to improve our list management administration, so you can kind of find and use the lists that you have better, more intuitive targeting and segmentation according to those lists. Another big win that's coming is using saved searches as a building block to create another saved search. You can certainly save searches today, but if you want to use that saved search and build one on top of it, that is functionality that we are investigating for the first half of this year as well. And then we're also making improvements to our suppressions as well, so you can really fine tune the audience that you want to target and segment. So if you have better list management and you can use saved searches on top of saved searches and you can have better suppression, you will be more accurate. We can help you be more accurate in your targeting. So that's all coming first half. We are also taking a hard look at our reporting. There's a lot of areas here that we're looking at. And so there's a few things here that we're going to be focused on. First is making sure that the fields are consistent across all of reports and making sure that we're exposing those accordingly. I know we get sometimes feedback from users that they export a few different of our reports into Excel and do some pivot tables and things like that. So we're looking very hard at that and what we can do to allow you to make more complex reporting in-app and not need to download things to Excel. Part of that will come with data visualization as well. So it's not just the data itself, but being able to visualize that and improving that process. And then standardizing and adding more filters to reporting so you can make more specific and targeted reporting. So look for changes for the first half of this year in our reporting. I think they're going to be great. Improving and stewarding your data. So there's a few things here that are coming this way. First of all, we are kind of, this one's again kind of under the covers. We are changing the data model that's associated with how we handle phones. And the reason that we're doing that is a couple things. One is we want to make it more obvious and easy to understand which phone number is a cell phone number and which one is a landline. And that will then fall into things like, what is the best number for me to call? Which number is textable, for example, and which one is not. And so with our kind of updated phone model, you'll see this rolling out and it'll be easier for you to kind of understand the phone numbers that you have on file and what is not capable with each one of those phone numbers. Better visibility for NCOA. So what that means for you, practically speaking, is that the audit trail associated with an address update, if it comes from NCOA, will be more obvious. So if you're wondering, why did this address change, or who changed this address, or how did we get here? The auditing and sort of the trail history as associates with NCOA will be much more obvious for you, and we'll make that much more visible for you as well. We are going to raise the limits on number of custom fields that we offer as well. This is another kind of quick customer win that we get a lot of feedback on. And then the last one there is the bulk upload approval. So if you are doing a bulk upload today, you typically need to submit a ticket with us to approve it, make sure everything kind of looked good. We're going to put that in the hands, sort of like resetting multi-factor MFA logins, putting this power into admins. So you don't need to reach out to us to approve a bulk upload. You can now do it yourself. So it'll be faster. We are continuing on our journey to squash duplicates as best as we can. We did a fair amount of effort here last year. I think most notably, we ended with implementing the Soundex algorithm that can help put like names that maybe sound similar, or maybe the apostrophe is off by one, or the spacing, that type of thing. But we're going to continue to work on duplicates for the first half of this year. And there's really kind of two ways that we're approaching this. One is to prevent duplicates from happening to begin with. And that's really what that first one is. So better matching up front of someone coming in, for example, an online action form, doing better matching there up front so it doesn't get into the system as a duplicate. But then for the ones that are actually in the system, we want to make it easier for you to be able to see what the potential duplicates are, how we are thinking about like scoring the potential of the match of that, and then making it easier for you to disposition those yourself. So squashing duplicates is sort of an ongoing journey. We're going to continue to invest in that for the first half of this year. I believe last but not least for EA and NGP Van is a couple of data pieces here. So first of all is optimized ask. This is built by our data science team. This is essentially takes the information that we would know about a contact, their demographic information, well scoring, and other pieces to create a personalized ask amount for that particular supporter. So what that means is that if you and I get the same email from the same campaign, and optimized ask is turned on, I will get one ask amount and you will get a different one based on what we know about each of us. And with a more tailored ask amount, you are more likely to get someone to donate. We have had some of our customer base use this to date, and the results that they've seen have been outstanding in terms of like if you look at things like dollars per form load, it's been absolutely outstanding. So we are going to enable this by default. It is still up to you if you want to uncheck it. But we strongly recommend that you use it because it really is a powerful way to just very easily increase your fundraising totals. The second bullet there is our donation forms. We have a team of people who have been A/B testing donation forms for kind of an ongoing now for a while. And we are learning a lot, and we are moving the improvements that will work for everyone into sort of default forms. So you don't have to do anything. The forms will just get more efficient as we go forward. And you'll see those contribution forms will become more optimized over time as well. So with that, I think we have wrapped up EA NGP Van, and we'll go ahead and jump over to Network for Good. So a couple things for Network for Good. Again, I'll just spend a few minutes here talking about what we kind of just cherry pick a few things that we did kind of towards the end of last year. We did a lot on payments. We added Bonterra payments, Google Pay, Apple Pay as well. And then we added two-factor authentication. We upgraded some capacity as well. So a lot of work there in payments. We're going to continue to do a lot of work in payments, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes. So just sort of getting things going there for Network for Good on payments. We have a great auctions and events products on Network for Good that we're very excited about. We've been continuing to work on those for a period of time. A couple of notable things there that I think are worth calling out is mobile bidding for auctions. And it may be a little bit hard to see there in that picture, but what that means is that you can get a text message saying that you are outbid on something, and then you can simply respond to that text message with an increased bid. You don't have to log in, you don't have to do anything else, you can do it right from your phone. So it's really great for supporters that are taking part in an auction. We also did more with event sponsorships, promo codes, and added Stripe payment options for auction purchases. So all of that there was added to our auctions product. We also did some groundwork for what I'm getting ready to talk about for better targeting, segmentation, and understanding of donors. So we did some work to make it understand like who your lapsed donors are, which donors are deceased, and then being able to take advantage of the fact that they are deceased to suppress them, and then better attribution of soft credits. All came generally in Q4 of last year. So what's coming up for Network for Good? Kind of same setup slide. Again, not much more to say here other than as we talk about our products, as a reminder, reducing barriers to engagement and driving intelligent engagement actions is where we'll be focusing ourselves. The Network for Good roadmap really has kind of two main thrusts for the first half of this year. One is payments, and there's a lot underneath that, which we'll obviously walk through. And then the second piece is visibility, targeting, let's say segmentation of donors as it relates to individual donors, donors within a household, and then identifying and taking action on lapsed donors. That'll be sort of the second, those things together kind of form the second one. But we will start with payments first. So first and foremost, we're going to give admins the ability to manage recurring donations themselves, which is a big feature request that we're responding to. And then we're going to reduce some of the friction and reducing barriers to engagement by not requiring a login for someone to make a one-time donation if they already have a donor account, to make it much easier and again, reduce friction there. We'll also make it easier for donors to access and update their profiles so they can update their own payment methods, edit their recurring, and essentially put more power in their hands. One of the things I'm very excited about in particular for Network for Good is that last piece there, bringing fast action, which is a EA NGP van. Essentially, it is a saved profile. It's a saved record that a donor or supporter owns that has their donor information and it has their payment information saved. We have over 20 million saved fast action profiles. This has historically been on EA and NGP van, and we're going to add this to Network for Good. So what that means for you is that if you have someone coming to your donation page, you will see a fast action logo there. Once they log in kind of that one time, it will make it very quick and easy to donate because all of that saved profile information will be right there. Saved payment information will be populated. And again, we're bringing the power of over 20 million saved profiles to Network for Good. So it's really, really powerful. It's coming. Let's see. Okay, reconciling bank information. This is more insights into payment payout reports for each individual transaction. So you get more like granular level detail on your payout reports. We also want to give you the ability to aggregate and to have like one payout report. And then just sort of seeing the data that's associated with this as well. We just want to give our admins more visibility and more capability into the reporting that they see. I won't say too much about the better email deliverability. It's really the same. It's an industry change, as I mentioned, on EA and NGP van. So I won't mention that there. But I don't remember if I mentioned before, but we will allow you to self-authenticate your sending domains so that you can remain in compliance. We'll put that right in the app for you. We are also going to release more giving page templates, and this is something that we'll just do periodically over time to add to our collection of templates that you can use with which to build a fundraising campaign. So we are a few weeks away from launching a new template there that you can select that. And then again, this will add to our library over time to add more templates to give you much, get more options and sort of depending, and that, therefore you can kind of tailor your experience that you want a supporter to see based on your campaign, and then better match that up with templates that are available for you. So you're not starting from scratch. Okay, so moving over to off of kind of payments and payment forms, and now moving to the second bucket that I talked about for Network for Good, which is driving insights into our donors. So first and foremost, we're going to make a big investment to make it easier to track supporters, donors as part of a household. So are they in the household, and then what is the relationship within that household? Also, we'll add for soft credits, that's coming as well. And then we're going to improve our donor status logic to account for members who are in a household. And then the reporting piece from the households will come as well. So you heard me say households a lot, but we really want to make it much easier to understand who is in a household, what their relationships are, how the soft credits align there, and then improve the reporting associated with that as well. So when we do that, that will have multiple things, but then we can start to track, report on those donations over time as part of a household versus individuals. And you'll be able to see that in your reporting, and then start to think about and target fundraising campaigns with that in mind. Once we have the household pieces in place, the next thing that we'll be able to do is better identify and engage with lapsed donors. And it's not just about like, who are my lapsed donors, but we want to help you understand who are the lapsed donors who are most likely to re-engage with you. So once we finish the householding work, we will then work on identifying, we have a couple of data models that we're going to apply here to put that in place. So make it very easy for you to like, okay, these are my lapsed donors. These are the ones that are most likely to re-engage. And now I can go create a campaign to go target them very specifically. And so that is also coming for the first half of this year. And this will go kind of hand in hand with the householding. So with that all said, I'm going to take a break from talking and turn it over to Jess.
Thanks, Russ, and definitely go drink some water. That was a lot, and super exciting. Lots of good questions. Again, I'm Jess Matthews. I will be talking a little bit about the recent releases and roadmap for Mobilize, which is our volunteer management tool that really helps you engage your volunteers and also reach new volunteers and supporters. So I'll talk quickly kind of about a couple of the things that rolled out in the second half of last year. The first of those is some updates to our new group sign-up feature, which reduces barriers to supporter engagement by allowing supporters to reserve spots within a volunteer event for a group when they're signing up. This is really great. It allows nonprofits and organizations to recruit groups of friends, families, colleagues for their volunteer shifts and saves volunteer managers really valuable staff time. This is currently in beta and will be rolling out to all Mobilize volunteer management customers in the next few weeks. Go to the next slide. Another kind of great example from the second half of last year of our tools really working together to create more supporter engagement and creating seamless workflows to drive intelligent engagement actions is this new feature that builds on a very popular integration between Mobilize and the EveryAction CRM. This new feature allows custom responses in Mobilize to be synced to EveryAction NGP van so that customers can have powerful automations around their supporter engagement and better list segmentation, within the CRM. If we go to the next slide. And then finally, thinking about how we help you expand your reach within the Bonterra ecosystem. Mobilize has always helped nonprofits and organizations reach new supporters through its kind of global feed of volunteer activities from around the country. The team has been doing a lot of experimentation and testing over the last few months to make that feed even more effective at getting you new volunteers, new supporters signing up. We'll be rolling out some of the most successful of those updates in the next few weeks. But what that really translates to is just more signups, more volunteers for every organization that's listed on that feed. So we're going to shift to looking at upcoming roadmap for Mobilize and volunteer management. So in the theme of reducing barriers to engagement, I'm super excited about this. This is the #1 most top voted idea in the Mobilize Ideas portal, where we collect ideas from customers. We're going to be expanding Mobilize's volunteer events to reduce barriers to engagement for Spanish-speaking audiences in the US, which is obviously super exciting, and we're really excited to get this in customers' hands over the next few months. The first phase of this work is going to include translating event sign-up pages and Mobilize event feeds into Spanish, and we'll be recruiting customers to get early access soon, so look out for some communications on that. The next in a bucket, one of the things that we know is that reducing barriers to engagement of supporters really starts with giving volunteer managers the tools to create those really great and rewarding volunteer experiences. So we're also going to be focusing on a number of quality of life improvements, things like further improvements to that popular van integration that I mentioned, the EveryAction CRM integration, improving the tools and workflows around check-in and attendance capture, really making sure that when volunteers are signing up, they're also showing up and bringing their friends, and of course, coming back for more. We're going to be cleaning up and updating the event types that are available so that you can represent your volunteer activities as well as possible, or as great as possible, on your event feeds, and doing some things to tackle just spam and abuse mitigation, just to make sure that the folks who are signing up are real humans who want to do great work. And then finally, again, going back to the kind of theme of expanding the reach in the Bonterra ecosystem, something that Mobilize does through tools like Mobilize.us and other aspects of the platform. We're going to be improving those tools that you as organizations use to recruit new supporters through Mobilize, and that will include small improvements in things like the promotions tools that organizations use to collaborate with each other on Mobilize, improving organic event SEO or search optimization, just so that more folks are seeing your volunteer events and able to sign up for them and fill those critical shifts. And then focusing on optimizing our two really notable social recruitment features, one of which is groups, where volunteers can create their own groups to organize around events and other causes, and then our social recruitment features, so bring a friend, the asks that we make after someone signs up for a volunteer shift. So look out for some improvements and optimizations coming around those features a little later this year.
Very good. All right. Thanks, Jess. All right. We are coming into the home stretch here. I will move on here and we will talk about giving days within GiveGab. So the team is hard at work at some, I think, great updates to this product that is coming. First and foremost, we are going to give Giving Day administrators, those who are set up and running these beautiful fundraising pages, put more power in their hands. So that means managing and uploading images, custom style sheets. There is a bit of a manual process today to set up a new Giving Day page. There's a little bit of back and forth with Bonterra, and we want to kind of cut that out, put more power in your hands, and help you get up and running faster with these changes. And then that will help reduce time to live, also help you make more routine design changes so you can make changes as you go along. The last piece here that is not on the page, but is just added recently, is then we're going to then move on and look at our reporting when it comes for Giving Day. So seeing how your campaigns are performing, making it easier to understand kind of how, like, not just what, but how, and then like help again, sort of with the vision, next best action to take. So once the pieces here that are on the page are finished, we'll be moving into updating and improving our reporting associated with Giving Days. With that said, let's talk about Salsa. So there it is again, the vendor require, or the Gmail, Yahoo requirements for sending. So that is coming also for as well for the first half of this year. We're also looking at a couple other things for Salsa, or I shouldn't say we were working on for the first half of this year. We have a fair amount of requests around reporting, adding filters, more control over those filters, and just general kind of quality of life improvements to reporting. So that is coming for the first half of this year. And then we are going to make fixes and then enhancements to our integrations with Salesforce. And that is, the team is hard at work on that as well. And I think we are at the end of things. Oh, I have one more slide. So we are hard at work, hasn't really been in this presentation, but we are hard at work at building service packages, and wanted to mention one of the packages that's coming shortly. So you will see different levels coming with packages. This is going to be our platinum support. This will help you achieve more with less. It's going to help you unlock fundraising potential through our software. It's been shown to increase outcomes by up to 3 times through our technical expertise, helping you unlock the full and use the full potential of the product. It also is going to come with highest level of support services, top of queue priority, 4-hour case resolution, or triaging, 8 hours of dedicated flex support coverage. There's all wealth of information, or wealth of help, knowledge here that will help you take advantage of the product with our experts hand in hand. So that is coming out a little bit later this quarter. So with that, I think, Amanda, we'll just run our last poll here. And it's really just asking if there's anything that you heard today that you would like to talk more of, if you'd like an account manager to reach out to you. If you mark yes, we will have someone do that. We'd love to interact and engage with you as much as possible. And I think that is our final poll. And if we have maybe a couple minutes for Q&A, that'd be great.
Yeah, awesome. I'll leave that up for a couple of moments here. But one question, Russ, that I think is good to cover kind of while we're talking about, if you want to get in touch with us, etc. There's a lot of folks who've got, some maybe specific ideas or requests that I saw within the Q&A section. So what is the best way for people to give feedback for changes they'd like to see in their products?
Yeah, great question. There's a couple ways to do that. Your account managers, CSMs are a great way to do that. Sometimes it turns out the application can do it just in a different way, but we interact with them on a monthly basis and go through kind of the top level items that we're getting. And again, we react to those as we've talked about in some of the roadmap items. And then our products have idea portals as well. Some of them do, some of them don't. The rest are coming for the first half of this year. But we also look at the ideas portals, and we look at not just what's in there, but how they're getting voted as well. So if there's not an external idea portal for the particular product that you're interested in, rest assured there is an internal one. So if you do talk to your account managers and the CSMs, they also put it in there and they vote accordingly. And we look at those as well. I will also say, just as a teaser, for the first half of this year, we are going to launch product advisory boards where we can meet with, maybe just think about like as a roundtable discussion. So it's a little bit less formal than a kind of a one-way radio broadcast webinar. We can talk about a little bit more about our vision and the direction that we're taking a product in, solicit feedback, and just really have a good substantive discussion. And we'll do several of those this year with folks. Accordingly, that more information will be coming on that later. And if you don't get into the advisory board this year, we'll continue to run them in future years. So all of that's coming as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Russ. Lots of ways to give us your feedback. We love hearing it. That's, how we make these updates and changes and how we set these roadmaps along with our vision. So definitely love hearing from folks. And kind of on the other end of that coin, Russ, we had some specific questions around when certain updates are becoming available, which I'll maybe dive into, but how do folks see these updates when they're becoming available? These are obviously for the first half of the year, but how can folks know kind of when those are coming?
Yeah, there's a few things that we're doing, and we're up-leveling our game here for the first half of the year. So we do, there is internal communication. So if you do talk to account managers, CSMs, they will know about that and be able to communicate it. More specifically, though, we have started publishing monthly newsletters. So in the monthly newsletter is essentially like a roundup of the changes to the product that's come. So I would strongly encourage you to read those. If you're not getting those, please let us know so we can add you to it. And then we still do communication either on the website or through individual emails, particularly for like larger pieces of functionality release that's there as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I know folks are excited to see these coming and probably want to get to them as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. One specifically, Russ, that came in that I saw a couple people ask about was just when single sign-on for EveryAction will generally become available.
Yeah, that's a big one. So that is going to be generally available by the end of the quarter. We'll make that available. We are kind of outside the scope of this conversation, but we are putting together some enhanced packages as well. So just like collections of features, and we're going to include single sign-on there as well. But it will be available for customers to use by the end of the quarter.
Perfect. Thank you for that. So now I think we just had a couple of clarifying questions, Russ, if you don't mind, with maybe some terminology. There are some people who are asking, what does van mean? And so maybe Jess or Russ, whoever wants to take that, just so people know what we're talking about when we say that.
Sure. VAN stands for Voter Activation Network. It is a primarily used on the political side of the business. But it is an organizing tool to help, reach out to and engage with supporters and mobilize them to take action. Perfect. And then the NGP side of NGP Van is essentially like the fundraising and the compliance piece of those two products that kind of work together. They're actually technically two products, but we always treat them people generally use both at the same time, and we tend to say NGP Van.
Yeah. And EA is EveryAction. NFG
right.
is Network for Good.
Network for Good.
We try to, there's a lot going on in
sorry, I tend to use too many
world,
acronyms.
so we want to let folks, just wanted to give you all those heads up. There were some kind of questions about the add-ons, Russ, if you don't mind taking, or if they're an add-on, or kind of what this means. A couple people asking specifically about double the donation. wondering if that is something that's added on or can be included in the package, or kind of where that lies in the world.
Yeah, double the donation will just be included. I think practically speaking, it will appear as another payment type. So someone can just kind of log in and get to their DAF and use the DAF to donate. But it's not something you're going to have to pay extra for. It'll just be included.
Awesome. And I think we had kind of a similar question or some curiosities maybe for you, Jess, around Mobilize. Like, is that something people can learn more about? Think there was some excitement around that. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah, so it's included if you have volunteer management within your EveryAction package. It's included for many customers. The best thing to do is to reach out to an account manager, and we can also provide some information in the follow-up on how to get access to Mobilize if you don't already have access.
Yeah, perfect. Definitely keep an eye on the follow-ups. We'll get you all of this information, and if we didn't get to your specific questions, again, I know some of them are very specific to your organization. We want to make sure that our account managers and teams can follow up on those specifically. But I don't know if there are any like kind of overall themes, any other ones that you saw, Jess or Russ, because I think those were all that I culminated into kind of. There's 100 questions in here. I want to make sure we get to the big themes, and we'll get to you all on that individual level. We unfortunately can't get to those in the last 10.
None necessarily from me. Though I was talking a lot, so I didn't see the Q&A as much. But if there's any others, I'm happy to take it. Otherwise, as Amanda said, we'll certainly follow up.
Oh, I think Jess just called one out for us. If we're incorporating AI at all.
Ooh, that's a good one, Jess. I like that one. We are. So let me talk about that for a moment. So this comes in a couple different flavors, I guess, or ways to think about it. If you think about things, there is essentially data analysis that you can do based on ML algorithms that will produce things like optimized ask, will produce things like who was my best lapsed donor to engage with. Some of the things that I was talking about there, those are what I would consider like data machine learning, and it's in the application itself. And those are things that are available, and we're continuing to add more models over time. I think EA might have like 9 or 10 already of those models, but we're adding more. And then, as I talked about, we're bringing some of those models now to Network for Good. So optimized ask will be the first model that we bring. Lapsed donor identification engagement will be the second one that we bring. The other way to think about it as well is like generative AI. So like, help me write a email body, help me write a subject, produce 5 subject lines and let me pick one, that type of thing. We have internal models for that. We have things that we are testing out. They're just not quite ready for to push live to everyone yet, but that is absolutely coming. We are looking at targeted email and EveryAction and NGP ban first for that. And I was sort of alluding to that earlier with like the ask type of like, hey, you might want to use ask type if you're not, because it's a great input to the model if the model knows what you're trying to accomplish with that email. So that was my little nudge to start using that because it will only help the models as they come out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Russ. I know there's so much going on in our fundraising and engagement world. So many exciting updates. So really appreciate you, and appreciate you, Jess, as well, with your teams really making these strides forward for our products and kind of helping our customers do the best work they can and achieve that greatest good. So thank you both so much for sharing all of your knowledge. There's a ton of work that goes on behind the scenes to make these updates happen. So appreciate you both, and appreciate all of you who are on with us today, listening in, who are excited about these updates, and want to continue moving forward. And we love to hear from you. So again, make sure you send any of that feedback to us. We do read it. We do love to hear it, and we can move forward together.
Yep, I second that. Love hearing feedback. Appreciate all the attendance, all the enthusiasm, and looking forward to doing good work together. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks all. Take care. Bye-bye.